BackStory events. And tonight's show is going to be live streamed to Guitar World's Facebook page and to their YouTube page, Guitar World Magazine. As many of you know, this is an ongoing series of events. And if you want to see what's coming up, go check us out on BackStoryEvents.com. I've been a guitar journalist for close to 30 years now, and I've seen a lot of terrific and magnificent things. I saw Led Zeppelin live in 1973. I saw Eddie Van Halen play his Frankenstein guitar through his Marshall stack at 5150 Studios. I've even seen somebody make a mystical amulet out of a lock of Jimi Hendrix's hair. But I really have never seen anything quite like our next guest. Mrs. Smith has been called the world's most unlikely guitar hero, and pretty soon you'll see why. So tonight we're going to have the band come out and play a couple of songs. Then Mrs. Smith and I are going to have a conversation, and then the band's going to come back and play a couple more songs. And with that, let's bring out the band.
This song is called Cat Jam. Hello, kittens. It's Mrs. Smith again. They say write about what you know, write about what you love when it comes to music. So I love cats, so I wrote that song. And another big love of mine is, of course, public television. So here we go.
Let's begin to figure out where these old trees are. There we go. All right. Gentle, gentle, gentle.
Up here, and then
Let's
we're
get
going to
some chairs.
talk.
Yes, hello. Can you get me a chair, sweetie? I'll ride a side saddle. So I don't get the live stream on me. It's a thrill. Oh. Hi, Brad.
How are you doing, Mrs. Smith?
I'm great. Now that I'm here with you, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Guitar World and the Cutting Room and BackStory.
Thanks for joining us here. And I think the first foremost question on everybody's mind is, how did you become interested in playing the electric guitar in the first place?
Well, that's a good question. I've never been interested in playing the electric guitar. I don't even know that I am interested in playing the electric guitar. I am compelled to play the electric guitar. What it comes down to, just the Reader's Digest version of it, is in the 90s, I was kidnapped and held for ransom by a Norwegian death metal band and suffered the Stockholm Syndrome. And if that seems like a lot of Scandinavia for one anecdote, welcome to my life. No, no, but it's actually not funny. I spent 3 months in a closet with a guitar, and I basically had to play my way out of that situation. It was quite traumatic. So trauma and the instrument go together for me.
So let me get this. Let me get this straight. So a Norwegian death metal band kidnapped you, and did they put you in the closet?
They most definitely did. I mean, it was kind of like a Patty Hearst stole my moment kind of thing, which is, I try not to be resentful about that because this happened in the 90s. And so, yes, they kidnapped me. They brought me to Norway. Of course, I was married to a very wealthy man, and they were trying to finish their album. You know, this is before, crowdfunding. So they were hoping to extort the money from him. They shoved me in a closet, and it was near their rehearsal space. And so through the door came the sounds. And then this very guitar was in the closet with me, and I just I had nothing else to do. I had nothing else to do.
But were you familiar with the guitar somehow?
Yes, yes. I had showed some early promise. Thank you for reminding me of that. I had showed some early promise. My father was a brilliant guitar player. He had a beautiful collection of guitars. He was also a brilliant alcoholic. And so he smashed them all. But he did give me one lesson. He taught me G, C, and D. Then he blacked out and fell down a flight of stairs. And so he said to me, you've got something here. I think we have something here. But every time he tried to teach me something, he would just black out. And so it was kind of unrealized. Right. You know what I'm saying? And then I think the Norway thing just triggered and accelerated it. So yes. Yes. They're here.
So
they're here. They're here. Good. We're safe. Go ahead.
So you were in this closet. Didn't your husband try to save you? Didn't the what?
Yes, well, and this is all the topic of my one-person show with a live rock band, and I was married to a marshmallow magnate, okay, and I know you think marshmallows, Mrs. Smith. It didn't make sense, which is probably why he didn't try to rescue me. He did have millions, and I remember the band, and they were sweet kids. I felt for them because they were artists. They held the radio up to the door. And I could hear my husband, I don't have that kind of money. $5 million I refuse to pay. And that was when he refused the money, my ego collapsed. When he then said, we have reason to believe she's kidnapped herself, there was nothing left. I was dust. I was dust.
So at that point, of course, the only thing for the band to do is to
appropriate me.
Appropriate.
Yes, well, they had run aground. They were really pushing this death metal thing. They were burning down churches. They were doing the whole Satan thing. And it was working for a while, and then it stopped. And so I came out with fresh ideas. I thought, why not combine pop and metal and this and that? And we started mixing up genres. And I eventually took over the band. The lead guitar player and I did not get along, so he was left, I think, on the edge of town somewhere. They just dumped him out. I mean, it was really brutalist. And we joined the Eurovision contest. We won. That led Interpol to be chasing us all over Europe. And finally, the boys died in a hail of bullets and fire. And I was the only survivor. So they're still with me. I do think of them fondly.
What was their name? Would I have been familiar with them? The name of them?
You would not have been familiar with them. They were very obscure. And it was their name was a kind of a satanic hieroglyph. It wasn't even a human language. And part of my initiation was they brought me to the edge of a field, and they spelled it out in fire in the snow. And they said, like, say it, say it. And I was like, I don't want to say it. I don't want to join Satan. They said, you say it or you'll go back in the closet. And I said, all right. And I said their name. And they said, that's not how you say it. It's... And we went like that for hours. So I go... And they were like, no, it's not the sound of choking. It's a satanic hieroglyph. Like, how dare you? You're disrespecting our religion. And I think this is going awful far. Well, finally I got it right, and I joined the band. It was horrible.
So in the closet, you found this lovely gem 77.
Yeah.
And
I had no idea what it was.
How long did it take before you heard the music of the man who invented this guitar, Steve Vai.
Oh, see, now I didn't know this Steve Vai guy. So this is a flower guitar. That's what I called it. I said, this is an Ibanez guitar flowers. And people were like, no, this guitar is a big deal. It's got a history. You need to know and respect it. And I said, I'm busy. So I'm busy. But the guitar goons caught me and finally taught me the history. So Steve Vai is a guy, and he's an important guitar player. And he invented this guitar. And I just thought, I loved it because it's like a purse with a handle. You see, you can carry it like a purse. And so he invented it. And I performed at something called the Guitar Gods Festival, which was hosted by an elemental guitar human named Yngwie Malmsteen, who has my great admiration. And I was backstage, and I met this Steve Vai guy. And I didn't know him. I thought he was like a bouncer or something. And so he came rushing up to me, and he said some very lovely things. And I was kind of going, where's the water bubbler? You know, how do I get backstage? Where are the snacks? And he kept going on and on. And the more I thought about it, you know, as he was talking at me, I was like thinking to myself, he's awful tall and lanky to be a bouncer. You know, like usually the stage crew is kind of beefy types, you know. And I thought maybe he's a stalker spotter, like he stands in the audience spotting stuff. I don't know. So anyway, we had a lovely conversation. And I did have to come to learn the history of this guitar and of this amazing man, who you know as well, too.
Yeah. But it seems like your music has taken on some of his influence. Do you think that that's the magical powers of the guitar, or was it actually Steve Vai himself?
No, this is the thing. And the guitar geeks lose their minds when I say this. This guitar had been discarded in that closet in Norway. Nobody wanted it. I was shoved in that closet. I grabbed around in the dark. I grabbed it. I thought, there's an object here. It's shaped like a body. I will hold it for warmth. And it had been discarded. It was disgraced. And there were magazines and little recordings, and there were things in there. And someone had turned on this guitar. And I don't know if one of the band members had been an acolyte or a protege, and then had turned on the master. So, I mean, you have to ask Steve Vai, what did he do in Norway? But it may be, there was a demon embedded in it for many years. So it may be that there was an undue influence on my playing. But composing music is entirely new to me, a totally new enterprise for me, and such a thrill.
Well, while we're on the subject of guitars, I noticed you have another guitar over here, and it sort of looks like the way Eddie Van Halen painted his guitar. Were you inspired by Van Halen?
Yes.
After?
This guitar is totally illegal. I brought this guitar to NAMM, which is the National Association of Music Makers Conference, and people had a conniption fit over it. So I had a dream that I was at MoMA, and I was looking at the Modrians, and then I was led down a hallway by a beckoning voice, and I saw a painting that was these stripes in like rock and roll street punk stripes. And so I called my luthier friend, and I said, would you paint a guitar in this style? And he said, and I had a white gem guitar like that, because what had happened was I had this guitar, and then I wanted to make a green screen video, and you can't make green screen with these green frets, so they disappear. So I bought a white guitar with a handle, and I wanted to jazz it up. So I said, why don't you paint it with this interesting stripe pattern that I discovered? And he said, oh yeah, I get it, it's a thing. And I said, I know it's a thing, I dreamt it. And he's like, no, this is the thing, Eddie Van Halen is the thing. And I said, and then I had to learn about Eddie Van Halen. So it's synchronicity. Carl Jung created that concept. So it is Eddie Van Halen stripes on a Steve Vai guitar. Now, there's a lot of cool guitars in the world, you know, but this is the coolest. It just is. When I brought it to NAMM, people were stunned by it, and I let all the guitar gear goobers play it.
So you discovered Steve Vai, and you discovered Eddie Van Halen. Is there anybody else that looms large in your guitar pantheon?
Well, yes, I've had to learn about all this music, because this is just a kind of savant deal with me and my playing. I would say Jimi Hendrix is, what I love about him is actually his rhythm playing. You listen to Jimi Hendrix, of course the lead playing is fantastic, and the tone is amazing, but really when he gets into those rhythm parts, he is locked in a way. I work for that. I work to be locked into that rhythm in that same way. Of course, Yngwie Malmsteen is elemental. I'm just an absolute force of nature. The speed is unreal. And he combined classical music and rock guitar in such an interesting way. And I love that. I love people who recombine things.
Vito Bratta from White Lion.
Vito Bratta, who's in Staten Island. Now, you know Vito.
I do know Vito.
Let's go. Let's all get on the Staten Island ferry. Let's find Vito. Let's get flashlights. Vito, why won't you play? He's so melodic and fabulous. We'll go get Vito. He can play this guitar. He's a big Eddie Van Halen fan.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there are a bunch of guitar players that have created sort of imitation animal sounds with their guitar, like Eddie Van Halen does this horse whinny, and
Yes,
Adrian Belew had a rhinoceros sound that he used to do. But I've noticed in your videos and in your music, you mimic cats.
Yes.
And
I have to talk about this, and there's a reason for it. And I have to do it. Now, first of all, oh God, how many people are we going to lose on the live stream with this comment? Let's count. First of all, no shade to anybody, but there's an issue in the universe, which is that the only rock guitar song about cats that is popular is Cat Scratch Fever, okay, by Ted Nugent. No shade, but that's unacceptable to me on a spiritual level. Now, I'm looking into extracting Ted Nugent's dark spiritual energy from that song. I have a shaman working on it right now. And what she's aiming to do is remove his spiritual essence from that song, transfer it to me, thus rendering Ted Nugent a Mrs. Smith cover artist. So now there's that song, which I will never play until it is transferred to me and is mine rightfully so. Steve Vai played with Whitesnake, Cat Scratch Fever. Everyone, the fans on Instagram. Mrs. Smith, when are you going to play Cat Scratch Fever live? Never. It's too hard. I'm sorry. Forget it. It's not going to happen. Too hard. It's the high level. So I wrote Cat Jam, my song, and then I realized that I was making little kitty cat sounds. But what I discovered in a moment was what I call the lioness roar. Are you ready for this? You ready? Let me see if I can get my... There we go. I love this. At home with your whammy bars, get them out. Take your whammy bar, you see this? And what the whammy bar does is it moves the strings up and down and makes it higher or lower, right? So go. See, the strings are getting slacker, so the pitch is going down. The strings get tighter, the pitch goes up. So what you can do is this. But Steve Vai is really the master of the kitty cat sound. I knew I liked him for a reason.
But that doesn't exactly explain, like, the cats with
Nothing explains anything, Brad.
With the lasers coming out of its eyes in your in Cat Jam.
Oh yes, the video work. All of you out there, everyone's stretched to their limit, okay, financially. Maybe you want to be an independent artist too, but you can't figure out how to operate Final Cut Pro. Hop on to TaskRabbit, okay? Get a kid from, the outer reaches of Brooklyn, you on the live stream, some hipster enclave where they're living, 10 to a room in a fire, hazardous warehouse that used to be a toy factory. Have the kid come over to hang up some shelves. Say it's to hang up shelves. Then as they're hanging up the shelves, casually say, oh, gosh, I wish I knew Final Cut Pro. They will stop, their ears will perk. I know Final Cut Pro. I wish I knew Photoshop and InDesign and Illustrator too. I know all those. They will do it all at the shelf rate. So, this is a thing. It is a thing. So that kid, some TaskRabbit, assembled that video from found footage, and I think it is disturbing. It's striking, I think. I love that video.
But I think you're avoiding sort of a central emotional issue here, Mrs. Smith. there is something with cats that's at the foundation of your work, and I want to know, as an interviewer, what on earth is that?
First of all, I have a couple things to say. Brad, from this angle, you look a lot like my father. And from an entirely different angle, you look a lot like my Jungian analyst. So this is a lot for me to even engage in this interview. I'm being very generous to you. And I will answer your question about Carlisle. Carlisle is alive. He is thriving out there. I spoke this morning with Pet Psychic to the Stars, Miss Chris.
And Carlisle
is at large, is alive, is missing, but is, and this is, what is this? It's hard. It's hard to say what I'm about to say. He's not flourishing, but he's existing, and he's content. And he's kind of she said he's achieved a Buddhist state, and I said, unacceptable. We're used to running around. We're used to being in hot air balloons, having adventures, spelunking. We're used to playing chess, Chinese checkers, all of it. He would be prancing on that amplifier. And so what, he's sitting on a cushion with some chamomile tea? I'm struggling with this. He is not flourishing, is my big concern. Not that he's in danger, but that he's not flourishing.
For those of you out in Guitar Land, Guitar World Land, she's not talking about her Jungian analyst or her husband, but it's her cat.
My cat, Carlisle. Yes. Can everybody say Carlisle? Hold on, ready? On three, for the live stream audience, I'm literally picturing, someone on an old Dell laptop in a trailer somewhere, watching the live stream. We'll all hope that the meth lab next door doesn't explode in the middle of the live stream. So, this is Carlisle. Camera zoom in to all the kids out there in Guitar World and the audience. Everyone, burn this cat's face into your mind. We're going to say his name. All of you live streaming right now, please say it too. 1, 2, 3. Carlisle! Hold on. He could literally come through that door. It would not shock me in the least. Looking? Looking? No. Thank you, Brad. Thank you for that.
Here's the question. So if somebody actually...
Daddy? I'm sorry. My God. He was a guitarist.
If somebody actually sees Carlisle, what do they do with him?
Carlisle, well, first of all, do not approach Carlisle quickly. He's a chill dude, okay? And he will dart. So just slowly approach him, engage him in a stimulating conversation, perhaps bring up the New York Times bestseller list, perhaps bring up your favorite podcast. He's read them, he's listened to them, he's learned. So casually engage him in sparkling conversation and maybe just kind of walk with him and say, maybe you could get into this little safe little type, not a trap, but a little containment unit. And, maybe you could get onto this private jet, that Mrs. Smith has paid for to come get you. Please email carlisle.alert@gmail.com with any sightings.
Is there a reward?
Yes, there is a reward, but I will not say what it is because I don't want to. Because again, I'm just thinking of the kid in the trailer out there. Like they might start abandoning their job. I don't want them to do that. If you're meant to find Carlisle, you will find Carlisle. Someone will find him and return him to me, and they will be the right person.
So now this is all starting to make sense to me.
Good.
You recently caught...
Yes.
You recently caused some ripples in the guitar community with creating a new scale.
Yes.
And it's named after Carlisle. So now I'm beginning to understand.
Another triggering topic raised by Brad. So it's true. When I wrote Cat Jam, I had a mysterious progression. And I was playing a certain scale over it. I'm going to play here for you. So I was playing a certain scale over it. like very Egyptian eyeliner. You know, there's Liz Taylor. Hey, Liz, how are you? God, you look great again. So, but it wasn't working for me. I didn't want to go there, and the progression was. So I started to explore. And I discovered a scale, and it's a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, an augmented 5. Skip the 6 because it's an evil number. Go straight to flat 7 and a 1. And thank you. It's called the Carlisle Lydian scale, and I am the copyright claimant for it. I'm now saying that out into the world. My lawyer says by saying it, it is. So there you go. It's mine.
So while you have your guitar,
yes,
kicking your shoe at me.
Go ahead, Brad.
While you have your guitar,
Yeah.
I noticed that you tap a lot.
Tapping.
That's a big part of your technique. How did you first come across this?
Well, geez, should I even say this? It's really easy, to be honest with you. So what he's referring to is, normally you play guitar. This is the fretting hand. This is the picking hand, right? But then sometimes somebody will go. Gave away all my good licks for the last song. So, but here's the thing. I have very small fingers. I mean, this is, you know, they don't have the strength. You see some of these guitar player guys, and it's like that movie Alien, you know, the thing that jumps on the face. And I've got little lady hands, and so it does expand my reach. You know? And I also have what's called a weak right hand. I'm a left-handed player. So this is my strong hand, my fretting hand. So I And some people, they really get very quick with this. And I find that a little more challenging to do. So I think between those two, I find, how do I get the rage across? How do I express that mania, that wild emotion? And that's what I came up with, is problem solving, really.
Now, before you became a world-famous virtuoso guitarist,
Me. Yes.
you had a life. You had a life before that, and I'm wondering, are you still friends with the people? You were in the Upper East Side of Manhattan?
I do still live there, and it's hard. It's hard when your life changes. You know, it's hard when you become a thing on Instagram. You know, when that first viral video hits, and you know that they've watched it, you know, but they don't want to bring it up in conversation. It's really tough. But I live on the Upper East Side. I've lived there for the longest time. I have the occasion to have a home there, as well as a few other places, but I spend most of my time there. And, you know, I used to be very wrapped up in that world. I mean, you wouldn't have known. Let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. Do you love Mrs. Smith? Do you? Do you love her wild guitar? Do you love her bohemian expression? Well, you would not have loved the Mrs. Smith back then. You know, you would have found me with the ladies who lunch, at a luncheon, at the women's club, and I'd be there, Joan! What's that? No, the endowment. Mm-hmm. Harvard. Joan! That was me, just in a fugue state, but alive. And I broke with it, and things change when you break with that. I mean, people talk about rebellion. I rebelled. I broke free. I stayed in, you know, the Chanel suit. Well, this isn't the Chanel. You don't wear Chanel to a place like this. I mean, no, this is a nice place. I'm sorry, Steve. It's a nice place. It's just, there are kind of dusty, creative underclass types around, and they really can dinge up a nice Chanel suit. So I broke free of that world. I'm still in it. You know, I still attend the meetings. I still go to the women's club meetings. And it's getting harder and harder to be there.
You were in a Gucci commercial, though, so that must have made some sort of impression on them.
You know, the women, it's such a different world. I was in a Gucci is a high-end fashion label, and I was in a digital film for Gucci directed by Petra Collins, award-winning phenomenon. She saw me playing guitar in the East Village of New York City. She snapped a picture, and she had been courted by Gucci. She was a model, and she was also a photographer. She's an Instagram star. She takes these lovely sort of pink, suffused images of young women, and they're very powerful, very feminine, but very powerful. And so she's creating a feminine gaze in photography. And she saw me, and she was struck. And so she had preparing a Gucci concept. And she messaged me on Instagram. And, you know, I Googled her and went, wowie, wow, you know, New Yorker profile, all that stuff. I thought, this is the real deal. Okay, because I get approached by a lot of wackadoodles, you know, online. You know, we want to book you in Japan. Send us your bank account information and social security number. No thanks. So she booked me, and the next thing I know, I get an email from Gucci, Budapest, filming. Now, that film came out. It definitely made an impression amongst the style set, amongst, you know, the cool kids who follow those trends. But the ladies, they're in their own world. It just did not have an impact on them. They don't even know what I'm up to half the time.
Although you've embraced the sort of aesthetic and the music of rock and roll,
yes,
you've not really changed your look that much. I mean, do you ever get hassled by your bandmates about, like, do they ever want you to dress more like in leather or more rock and roll?
Well, I do think a kind of a cool leather skirt suit would look kind of neat, wouldn't it? Like something, but classy, not biker chic, chic. So if anybody knows fashion people out there gesturing at this table over here, I have a feeling about that table. But yes, I have stuck with my image. It's a sensible image. These are my gigging clothes. It's Tahari Arthur S. Levine. It's very durable. It absorbs sweat perfectly. These are sensible. They last. You know, they look fantastic. You get them tailored, and they're wonderful. I am followed by Tahari ASL on Instagram, but they will not reply to my messages. I'm like, get on board. The live stream guys just fell asleep.
Where did you find your band? You had an excellent band.
Oh my gosh. Aren't they great? Give it up. Yes. That's Paul on drums, Ricardo on bass, and Randy on guitar. So Paul had seen me playing guitar in Provincetown, Massachusetts. It's a little enclave on Cape Cod. And I was playing guitar on the sidewalk, which was, no, it really changed my life. It really changed my life because it made me realize that people care about music and that I didn't know that I had anything to offer on this instrument at all, and I just thought I needed a little extra money because the accounts had been frozen. I mean, that literally, the hard drive that all my money was in was underground, and because of climate change, it was frozen. And I stepped out on that sidewalk and started to play guitar, and people said, we like it. And we want to see it, and we want to see a lot of it. And so Paul had seen it, and he said, you should have a band. And I said, but I don't know how. He said, I'll help you. It's really easy, and you can rent rehearsal space at Smash Studios on 36th Street, and it's not too much. And I said, but I don't want to lug amps around. He said, they got all the amps there. Everything's there. You just pay the $39. And I thought, I had no idea about this stuff. And it was easy to start a band. If you want to start a band, do it. It's not hard. Now, the places that are affordable to jam in this city are becoming less and less. Steve, we got to get on that. I think we need to start a nonprofit corporation that will subsidize musicians who don't have trust funds. No shade to trust funds. If you've got one, my Indiegogo campaign is still running. But So Paul said, I'll help you. Ricardo saw me on the street playing Joe Satriani surfing with the alien. He said, what am I seeing? A lady of a certain age who would be in a Stephen Sondheim musical shredding on guitar like Joe Satriani. And he said, I'm vacationing in Provincetown for Bear Week. You know, you do the math. And so he was thrilled. And then Ricardo said, I know this kitty cat named Randy. So I looked him up, and he was shredding like a wild guy. And I called him up, and how wonderful to have a guitar player for a friend, because I had never had one. And so Randy can fix the guitar when it goes out of whack for me. And he's teaching me things, and I call him up, help, I'm afraid to plug this cable into this thing that it will explode. And he said, it won't explode, you know, except for the cable that goes from the amp to the speaker. That has to be, you know, that will explode. So, but he's so helpful, and to have these friends. And I go into rehearsal, and I'll bring them like a story or a song, like we do an ABBA song. And I'll say, make it heavy metal there. Stop, now go to jazz. Now go to hip hop. Now go to and they can just do it. They can do it with a snap of a finger. So it's so much fun. And we'll be playing Provincetown this summer, July 14th. Bear Week. Ricardo.
Now, Mrs. Smith told me not to tell you this, but she's got to get a certain amount of plugs in for all of her gear up here. I'm sorry.
Oh, I do have gear.
I was intrigued by this amp. I'm not that familiar with this company.
Okay.
This is being live streamed by Guitar World. Hey, Guitar World.
I know. This is Mezza Barba, okay? They're Italian. My friend Ben put me in touch with them. Mezza Barbara, please! You know, some of my fans think I'm saying Barbara. Barbara, please, Barbara! It's Barba. It's Italian. And Pierangelo Mezza Barba, what a gentleman. He has endorsed me. They have given me this gorgeous amplifier. I went to NAMM and performed for them. And when I met them, he held my hands and he said, you are magic. And I said, let's not leave this moment. A handsome Italian gentleman calling me magic? Yes, I'm living my best life. And so that's what that sounds like. Am I right? Doesn't it sound great, everybody? I think it's
terrific,
that brown sound. Yeah. That Pierangelo loves Eddie Van Halen, so I think it's that brown sound.
It's a terrific sound. So I'm sort of wondering, I'm going to ask, sort of wrap this up, and then we're going to have the audience ask you a few questions. But so what does the future hold? You mentioned that you're working on a new EP. Oh
my God, what does the future hold? Collectively, I can't go there because it's so unknown. So I'll speak locally. I'll speak for my local pain. Locally, I'm recording an EP. This is an adventure in sound that I never would have imagined for myself. I really don't know what I'm doing with any of this. I have no expertise, no experience, no training. So I have hired a Brazilian fellow named Marcelo, and he is my recording engineer through a program called PC Anywhere. He takes control of my computer, and then I record the parts, and he goes, you know, yes, it recorded. And I go, okay, great. And then I've got an Indiegogo going to raise money to mix and master the album and make some music videos. I've got 5 songs. I've been working on these for quite a while. We played 2 of them tonight already. And I've just been, you know, something will come to me, you know. Into your phone as a memo, and then you just draw music around it. That's easy.
So everybody out there, we definitely want to hear Mrs. Smith. We want to hear the EP. We want to hear the music. So help her out. It's at Indiegogo?
Yes, it's an Indiegogo campaign. Kickstarter was just a panic attack. I couldn't do it because it's all or nothing. So it's Indiegogo, Mrs. Smith Crazy Lady Shred EP. And we've made our goal of $5,000. We're up to $6,000. So, you know, the more we raise, the more we can do. And really, to me, it's definitely about the songs. The songs are mostly done. I've been working on them for quite a while. It's really about the music videos, that I have these plans, these visions to take my music and transform it into little movies. And that is where you really do have to hire professionals. You've got to hire the right people to do it correctly. And so I'm so thrilled about it. And it's 10 more days in the campaign. So, you know, if you got $5 or so. Again, out in the trailer park, probably not. But you'll get to enjoy the videos on YouTube.
So, do any of you have any questions?
Questions? Any questions?
Mrs.
Oh my
Smith?
gosh, the dreaded Q&A.
Anybody have a question?
Questions?
Oh.
A profound, obscure.
Is there any love in your life, Mrs. Smith?
Love to me. Don't talk about love to me. Don't talk about love to me. I'm not dating anyone at this time. No one has asked. Question. Hi.
Hi.
I like this table.
Oh. Did you ever get another cat after Carlisle?
People say this all the time. Other people can do this. I think that is an interesting choice for them. I think there's something dissociated about that choice. I think there's something a little cut off about it. To just say, to sever, when you know they're out there and your pet psychic friend has on good account that they're meditating on a chamomile pillow, to just replace a loved one, I don't get it. So it is not something that I've ever done. Of course I peruse petfinder.com, and of course I see little whiskers, and my fans on Instagram especially are all kitty cat people. It turns out, guitars and kitty cats, who would have thought there are videos of just like these big heavy metal dudes rocking out on their guitar, and they're perched. A tiny, just little meow, and the kitty is like at the strings, you know what I mean, going meow, meow. So they send me their pictures, and I love that, and it gives me life. But I don't know. My Instagram says Cat Lady on the Verge. I hired a really expensive marketing firm to come up with that. Cost me $50,000 a word. The focus groups they ran and everything. So am I a cat? Yes, I'm a cat lady. I love all cats. At my core, I'm a Carlisle lady. Just got to be honest. I'm a Carlisle lady. Your best friend.
Well, it's been lovely talking to you.
Brad,
Thank
can I
you.
just say, oh, wait, we have one more. Oh.
One more question.
Oh, okay.
One more. There's just one more, and then we've got to get, oh, wait,
Hey.
over here.
Hey, thank you. I got a question for you. Brad, what are you doing with this fraud over here? I'm a big fan of you. I think you're great. But this lady is a fraud, and I know that for a fact. Hey, zoom in.
What is
Camera on
going
me, please.
on?
Camera on me, thank you. This is a fraud. Mrs. Smith, I used to be your biggest fan, gave almost all of my money to your Indiegogo campaign.
Who
Then I started
are
watching
you?
your videos, and I figured it out. You know where Carlisle is.
No, I don't.
You know where Carlisle is. You're hiding
Get him
You're
out of
milking
here.
It. You're
This is
milking
my
it for the
biggest
money.
fan, and he's
Thrive
turned
Alive.
on
Google
me.
Thrive Alive. I'm here to save all the cats, and you're a liar. Hey, get up there. I know my rights. I know my rights.
Ignore him. Ignore him. That is literally my biggest fan. He does that at every show. This is why I hate being famous. Any more questions? Oh, Mary has a question. Oh my God, she wants to get political. It's not political. Mary wants to know if I have any Me Too moments that I want to share. Listen, honey, back in the day, I was living through a Mad Men reality. I left the farm on upstate New York when I was a little girl because my daddy was blacked out at the bottom of the stairs. When my daddy blacked out, fell down a flight of stairs, and I thought, oh, maybe mommy can help. I went to find my mother standing in front of an open window in the middle of winter, screaming into the prairie. and I was like, okay, I'm leaving now. I'm actually going to leave this situation. I'm choosing to make a boundary. So I went to New York City. Got a little room at the Hotel for Vulnerable Young Ladies. And back then, it was, Me Too was the job description, honey. I mean, you were in the steno pool, and you didn't have a Reiki master to help you with back then. It was just, Jack, stop, get your hands off, stop that, don't pull on my skirt, you know. You pinch their elbows into their erect. But we had no power. Can I say? Yeah, we know. We had no power. And still, sometimes, we have no power. Why don't we have any power? Because maybe we're choosing it at this point? I don't know. It's time to seize power, right? Seize power. And so I stand for all this speaking out. I say speak all of your pain. Vomit up the damage. Turn it into a guitar solo. Turn it into a terrible performance poem. You know, you just inflict it on an open mic. Just say it all.
On that note, we'll have you play some more music.
Yes, perfect.
Lovely talking to you, Mrs. Smith. Thank you.
Brad, I want to say thank you so much. What an honor to be here with you. Brad has written a tremendous book with Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, and he has written an incredible book called Play It Loud that I read on the bus. I went up to a retreat with some friends. I read this book on the bus. Boy, did I learn a lot about Fender and Gibson and Ibanez and Eddie Van Halen. And it is such a thrill to be up here on the stage with such a knowledgeable interlocutor. Is it interlocutor? Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I wrote about the history of the electric guitar, and I'm with the future of the electric guitar right here.
Oh.
So we're going to take a quick break and bring the band up here, and you're going to hear a few more songs, and Mrs. Smith is going to go to town. Yeah.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you so much. What do you think? I should do the whole thing with this one, Randy?
Again, once again, let's hear it for Mrs. Smith and her incredible band.
Thank you, Brad. What a guy. OMG. This guitar is not for sale. It's completely illegal. I have to just apologize to Ibanez Guitars. It's from my private collection. I do want to thank them. I am endorsed by Ibanez Guitars. And also these lovely little, I just want to say, aren't these lovely? I designed these with something called neck illusions. And they're little stickers that you can put on the neck. So those will be on sale soon. And I also have to thank my friends at DiMarzio Pickups. Let's hear how this sounds. one of these days. I seem mean to take up all your sweet time. I'll give it right back to you one of these days. I don't need you no more in this world. I'll make it the next one, don't be. I'm a voodoo child, voodoo child. Lord knows I'm a voodoo child. Voodoo child. Lord knows I'm a Thank you. How about this band? On drums, Paul Amoris. On bass, Ricardo Rodriguez. Yes! Ricardo, you gotta show me that. I loved it. Some neoclassical jam over there, a classical gas, if you will. Love it. Well, here we are. Randy Wilcox on guitar. Give him a round of applause, right? Now, when Randy took the gig, I said, you know, I don't want any lead guitar madness. I don't want any competition on stage. You know what I mean? He's like, no, I'm very into chords now. I said, good, I like that. He's like, I'm very into add 9 chords. I said, I don't want to know anything about your personal life. Just show up at rehearsal on time. So he said he's very into chords. I said, chords are valid. You know, for your solo in the show, maybe think about doing some chords because they're valid. So here's Randy Wilcox. Randy, no lead playing. You promised me. No lead playing. Unless, of course, you want a guitar duel. Little lady versus the big scary bear.
Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear it. You just witnessed the future of the electric guitar right here.
Wrapped in the past.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming.